This podcast contains material that is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners. Enjoy.
I've peed 3 times during this podcast, so I don't know what your guys' problem is.
What are you, a trucker?
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin. So let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society. Please check us out on the web at thetailgatesociety.com. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by a man who has apparently checked out from 1989 to 1997, Mr. Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing this evening?
Well, I see how this is going to go. We're already crashing me. It was a terrible Twitter day anyways. I don't know what you and your friends do all day long, but I was trying to work.
So today was a cleaning day, which means that you get things cleaning in a tank and then they have to cycle for 30 minutes. So it's not like I can do anything else with that tank. So I had 30 minutes to just rip on you on Twitter, which I took advantage of fully, for sure.
And it was, I suppose, warranted.
You suppose.
According to the last week's poll, I was 80% in the wrong. So pretty rare for me.
80% in the wrong, or 20% of your followers are also just as clueless as you are. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, please go ahead and check out our last episode. We get into a little bit of rant about the 90s, right? The sweet spot where Chris is a 20-year-old who should know exactly what was going on in the world of music, but apparently was in some sort of like camp out in the middle of nowhere. Like you got abducted by aliens and spent it on another planet. I don't know what it was, but you missed maybe the most pivotal year in all of rock history, at least within the last 30 years. It explains a lot. I'll just leave it there. But that is not what we are talking about today, although I still feel like I'll probably throw in a few more references here and there. But we do have some very special guests with us today. So, Chris, I will go ahead and let you introduce our guests for this evening.
We do. I am super excited to bring on probably 2 of the most passionate fans from Iowa State and Iowa that I know and have followed on Twitter. So without further ado, I will give them their names and I'll let them do the introductions. But representing the University of Iowa Hawkeyes is my very good friend, Bill Blank, local Des Moines comedian here.
Local Des Moines comedian here.
Yeah.
That's a little redundant, Chris. We're off to a slow start.
We are.
No. Thank you for having me, man. Yeah, I'm a stand-up comic. I've had a very interesting year and a half, and I'm excited to do this. I'm sure that I'm like your stereotype, like Iowa State fans. Luckily, the video isn't going because I am what every Iowa State fan thinks we are.
I don't know. I see like a decent set of teeth, so I think that's already
that helps in one. But here's the thing: one thing I will admit, at least Hawkeye fans have the balls to walk into enemy territory.
There you go.
I mean, I got 3-on-1 today.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Sometimes you pay double for that, Bill.
Yeah, but not by you, sir.
I
had to buy a fucking T-shirt to get on this thing.
Oh, can we say fuck? I was going to ask that before we started.
Oh, yes.
Well, we just found out.
That intelligent voice that just spoke is none other than Megatron from Twitter. Meg, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk football.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're going to go with it, right? August, training camp started this week. Summer camp started this week. So what I thought we'd do is we'll let ladies go first. Meg, tell us a little bit about yourself first. What do you do, and if you're comfortable with it, and tell us a little bit about who Meg is on Twitter.
Okay, well,
Or in real life.
it's one and the same for the most part. Other than my name is not actually Megatron. I know that's going to come as a surprise to a lot of people, but that's not my actual name.
Megatron was trending on Twitter the other day, and for a split second, I was like, "Holy cow, she's getting really popular." And then I realized, oh yeah, no, the other Megatron.
Not that Megatron. I said something about my son going to Iowa State. Like, he just has accepted his offer to go, and someone tweeted at me, and they were really mad because they thought it was the football player's son going to Iowa State, and it's my son. So. But you know what? He's pretty great too. Anyway, so I live just right outside of Ames, and I am a first grade teacher at a little rural school here in central Iowa. And yeah, I've been married for, let's see, next month will be 19 years. And I have 2 kids. I have a son who is going to be a senior this year, and a daughter that will be a sophomore. And while I don't know that I've been a lifelong passionate Iowa State fan, I've made up for lost time for sure. In the last, since I was a student there. I went to Iowa State in 2000 and graduated in 2004. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown.
See, Chris, some people do it only in 4 years.
Well, to be fair, it was 4.5, but I had a baby while I was there, so I took a semester off to have a kid. So
again, stereotype. I didn't go to Iowa. Wow.
Oh, no.
I bet you guys had no idea that was coming.
I didn't want to ask. I'm glad you just said it.
I buy all my gear at Walmart too. Eat a dick, all of you.
No, that's fantastic. I'm sure that the Kirkwood Community College alumni events are.
I didn't even go there. I went to Marshalltown Community College to play baseball, and after my first year, they dropped the program.
Boy, you were that bad, huh?
Well, it wasn't that we were that bad. We were kind of middle of the road. It was more so nobody cared.
Oh, I just meant you. Like you were.
I shut them down. Yeah. Yeah. I was the worst third baseman in the history of the 2-year school. But yeah, no, and it was, I realized kind of right away that was as far as it was going. I mean, I played, but there were like 25-year-old Puerto Ricans playing for Kirkwood, and I knew I didn't have a prayer basically at that point. And so yeah, no, I never went to. I started telling jokes. I came home and went to DMAC for a while, and then I started telling jokes, and that was it. Like, I just fully committed at 21. So yeah, I'm from the School of Hard Knocks.
And I went to Iowa State.
So Bill, where did so then let's talk about what brought you to the beast of Iowa and fandom.
Well, obviously, the number one thing for any of us that are fans of either one of these teams, we don't have professional sports here. I mean, we grew up as kids rooting for Iowa or Iowa State, and some people Drake and UNI and stuff, but like, we're the 2 big ones, obviously. And my grandparents had season tickets my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been going to Iowa football games since I was like 7. And I still look at it through that lens sometimes. It's one of the most pathetic things in the world. Like, I still because my grandparents sat in the front row on the 10-yard line, and we would always go in way early when they were warming up, so the players would be right there, you know, and they'd be coming up, and it was just amazing to sit in those seats all those years. And now I sit in the front row in one of the end zones, so I'm on like TV all the time and stuff. And back in the day, we would be on TV, you know, in my grandparents' seats, so it's just kind of a big long. So I just grew up that way, and I still. I mean, I can still be in the front row and they'll score a touchdown like right in my lap, and I'm still amazed. Like I look up to them like I'm still 7 and I'm 43 years old. I'm pathetic.
I think that's very sweet.
Well, I mean, I envy them on such a level. You know, it's no different than growing up, you know, if you lived in Dallas and you grew up a Cowboy fan, you know, and you went to those games and you grew up looking up to those players. And that kind of just really never, if you never achieve that level of anything, it never really goes away. You still look up to them because now you know how hard it is to even be a Division I athlete, period, and how gifted you have to be. And so it's just like, now you still just kind of look at them that way. Like when I took my son to his first game, I was on the edge of tears the entire game. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as I found out he was going to be a boy, the two things: one, I can't wait to play catch with him when he can actually catch and throw. And then 2, I can't wait to take him to his first Hawkeye game. And so, yeah, I mean, like that whole day I was on the edge of tears. So like, it's just been so bred so deep into me my whole childhood that it just never went away. And the passion never went away. As I got older, I got even worse. Like I just turned into a lunatic. I mean, my 20s in Kinnick Stadium, I'm not proud of. Not even a little bit.
I get it. I certainly, in my late 20s in particular, I probably got overly invested. You know, a lot of those, you live and die by how Saturday afternoon goes.
Yeah. And at what point do you grow up enough to not put all this emotion into 19 and 20-year-old kids?
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I stop doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like when do you ever grow up enough to realize it's and for us as Iowa and Iowa State fans both, it's more pain than anything else most of the time when you invest that much. But the beauty of it is when the great things happen, nobody's happier than we are.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, it is definitely a little, I mean, well, shoot, like we've had Brent Gervais on, we've had Marcus Pfizer on, you know, it's been 20 years since we watched Marcus play at Iowa State. And, you know, some of these guys, they're younger than me and they're already, you know, retired from their sport, and listening to Marcus Pfizer talking about driving a minivan and being a regular guy. And there's still just a part where Chris and I probably fanned out more.
Yeah.
Little boys.
For sure.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I actually sometimes find myself doing that with Iowa State guys. Like, just because there's lore there, you know, like I was doing radio with Ross and Chris, and Seneca Wallace was on. And so I'm sitting across from Seneca Wallace, you know, and you can't help but you understand who that is.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And what he meant to you guys, you know what I mean? Like you understand who's in front of you, and you can't help but respect it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I a few years ago, I was in an event, and Fred Hoiberg was there, and the whole time I just kind of looked at him and stared and, you know, got lost in his dreamy face. And I, you know, at one point he said something to the people that I was with, and I think I responded with,
I've played 21 with Fred Hoiberg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. When I don't know, I graduated from North High, and so I'm actually really good friends with Hurl Beecham.
Oh, sure.
Who obviously played for Iowa State with Fred Hoiberg and Lauren Meyer and all those guys. So yeah, I was like 14 years old playing in driveways with those guys. It was amazing. Hoiberg threw my shot into the street. I do remember that.
Well, and Meg, you've been around quite a bit, some of those guys, because it seems like every season we see some pictures pop up of old photos of you with Meg is kind of like the Forrest Gump of Iowa State players, I think. Like, just show up and say, "Hey, there's Meg."
Is that a compliment? I feel like that's not a
That is a
compliment.
I was
compliment.
gonna say, wow, that was backhanded.
And that's how Visha got canceled.
That's all I have to say about that. No, I've been lucky to be in the right place at the right time sometimes. Going to Big 12 tournaments in Kansas City, and then sort of greeting the teams. We've been lucky. Well, and maybe luck is the wrong word, but we just go down if they play in the final. And so we've been there for the last, the 3 times that they've won in the last however many years. And then just kind of go stop and grab a couple cases of beer and then go wait for them in the hotel lobby to come back. And there's a big procession. And so then you're able to snag a lot of pictures with people. I have some pictures with Steve Prohm's mom from different years.
That's called stalking in some states.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
She was a
I can get
teacher,
you 3 to
and so
5
we
and a
talked to her
restraining
for a
order.
long time. She's really nice. She's very sweet. And so we just kind of, I feel like I run into people at tailgates. And then Cy's House of Trivia is a really fun event that is held in Hilton. It hasn't been obviously with COVID for the last couple of years, but they always have celebrity guests that are coaches and players and, from all walks that come in and wander the tables and hang out and do photo opportunities and things. So, yeah.
That's a pretty hard ticket to get because I've tried.
It is. It's a hard one, and I've been just kind of been fortunate that someone asked me to be on their team several years ago. They got in the lottery, and then a table opened up, and they were able to have like a permanent team. So I hope it comes back. I miss it. It's very fun.
I think we all miss a lot of those things. Just the tailgate tours, and Iowa coming to Valley Stadium and just practicing here, and even the fan fest that Iowa State did, and with that practice that Iowa did, where you could go and get autographs and meet the players and whatever. Which to be honest with you, now with name, image, and likeness, I don't even know if that's going to be something that they would do.
It's going to cost you money now,
right? Which is
I'm
fine.
okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Yeah. It actually makes me feel a little extra pathetic because now my son's like 19, so it's not like I can have a kid in tow with me, like, hey, Jess Settles. You know what I mean?
Look how cute.
Yeah. Look, my son wants an autograph. Weird. His name's Billy too.
I would always use the ruse of the Knights charity that I would do. I would take a ball up and get it signed for an auction. But it's weird. I just happen to have another ball here that would get signed that would not show up at the auction and would actually be in my house.
That's a good move. It's very Christian.
Yeah, no, I love how you're scamming with a charity, Chris. I think
that's not scamming.
It is if you sell the ball.
It's a little scammy.
Then I'm going to hell.
It's like borderline.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
No, man, you're Christian. All you gotta do is say you're sorry. You'll be fine.
He's Catholic, so there's a lot of gray.
Yeah,
there.
all you gotta do is tell.
At the last second.
You probably already did it then. If you're cat, you probably already went to confession and said, "Yeah, I had this other ball signed."
I start, and Father goes, "You know what? Just go. Here's your penance."
It's gonna give you the maximum amount of Hail Marys.
Right.
Chris goes into the confessional, and you just hear the father go.
Yeah.
And I get a few extra because it's going to be a rough week coming up here, Father.
Look, I only got an hour. The altar boys get here in like an hour and 15 minutes.
Come on.
Hey, you had me on, dummy.
No, that's fair. That's on you, Chris. So like my story, I've been a Cyclone fan all my life. Both my parents went to Iowa State, so my dad used to tell me all the time, you can go to anywhere you want. You can go to any college you want. Iowa State has multiple colleges. So I grew up, a half hour from Iowa City. All of my friends were Hawkeye fans. I, did the Hawkeye basketball camp. I probably went to Kinnick and Carver before I made it to Hilton, and at the time Cyclone Stadium. Probably before I made it, before I had that, but I usually always wore an Iowa State hat or shirt as a little kid, which probably, looking
Get the
back
shit
on it.
beat out of you?
Well, I was gonna say, looking back on it, I was being a troll, but for me, it was like, hey, you strangers are booing a little kid, and I was just, hey, look at me, I like sports,
Right.
because you go to nothing drives me more insane. This is a tangent, but you go to I live up here in Minneapolis, and you go to a Twins game, and it'll be like a Twins White Sox game, and there's a guy there wearing a
White Sox
Cardinals
hat.
jersey,
Oh.
and you're like, well, what the hell is that about? And like, oh, hey, I like baseball, but then sometimes there'll be a guy there wearing a Patriots jersey, and he's just saying, hey, I like sports. That's why I'm here, because I'm a sports person.
Yeah. I don't care about either one of these teams. I'm at a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I suppose looking back on it, I was probably being a troll, but to me, it was just the Iowa State hat that I wore every single time.
Yeah, you weren't being a troll. You were just wearing the thing that you wore all the time.
Oh, well, yeah, but Iowa fans certainly thought I was a troll.
Of course they did, but you're walking through fucking tailgate parties.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's on me.
I've been in Ames with Iowa stuff on plenty of times. I get the same shit. It just depends on where you're at, where you're walking, who's had enough to drink and who hasn't. Like,
yeah, but were you
most
an 8-year-old?
people are
Were you an
pretty
8-year-old
cool.
boy?
In Tim's defense,
you're right. Only Hawkeye fans have ever booed an 8-year-old boy. Just that we are such pieces of shit.
You heard it here first. I'm really glad that we got this confession right out of the way. That took a lot less than I thought it was going
I'm
to be.
glad I
That was
didn't
pretty
have to
early.
say it.
It's not like we run around. It's not like we run around as former football players and beat up the point guard.
That's gross. But none of the three of us didn't do that.
yeah,
No,
we didn't.
no. That's what I'm saying. You don't treat. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, you got some booze. Like I remember being a Hawkeye fan in Iowa City, like tailgating with my grandparents, and like I'd always have a friend with me, and we would be like, we'd have a Nerf football we'd be kicking around, and the ball would every once in a while roll into somebody's tailgate, like nothing harmful, just in the way for a second. And Hawkeye fans start yelling at us, telling us we suck. The ball comes over there again. They're going to punt it out of the stadium. Like, I mean, they were assholes. We're little kids and they're drunk idiots.
That's never happened in an Iowa State tailgate.
I'm sure it hasn't.
Everyone's very kind.
I mean, I don't know of a single documented case, so as far as I know, that's settled. That's just settled science.
Well, then never mind. I actually don't think that you ever got booed as an 8-year-old. I think this is fake news. I think you're making this up. It's totally unsubstantiated. Sorry.
No, that was good. You almost got words out. It was nice.
Yeah, it was close. I told, hey, I didn't graduate from college. I'm the perfect guest to be
That
your
word had
Hawkeye
a lot
fan.
of syllables. That was fine. That's
Yeah, it
understandable.
was.
It's a big
I'm
one.
on my second drink. Just to slow the brain down. About halfway through the second drink, it's kind of like I had a mini stroke, and just the right side of my face doesn't work anymore.
Good.
I grew up. Man, Bill, you're gonna hate this. I grew up an Iowa fan. For the longest time. My parents were not sports fans, and so it was just me. I had 3 older sisters that were not into sports, so that was my way of just finding something to do, was watching sports on Saturday and Sunday, college football. And at the time, Iowa was the shit. I mean, they were rolling, Hayden Fry, and
when we grew up, an Iowa State fan was kind of an anomaly as kids.
they were never on
Like,
TV.
And it was weird. Like when the Iowa State game would come on, there would be like there was one family that was Iowa State fans out of all like kind of my peer group and families and stuff. And
Yeah,
everybody
I agree.
watched the game together. There'd be one group of that would be it. and that's
Yeah.
all you ever saw anywhere.
When I felt like the rivalry was not
Yeah,
such a
I mean, it was
toxic
15
thing, then
years.
it
Yeah.
was, yeah.
When you had 15 years of losing, then it was a pretty lopsided thing
I mean,
for a
like
while.
rivalry is a little, yeah.
Yeah, it really.
It's just an in-state ass kicking at that point, really.
Yeah.
But there was still enough hatred there for there to be energy.
Yeah,
No.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll never forget the game that I watched. It was pouring down rain. It was kickoff. Iowa had kicked off. And I think it was Rob Houtland had went to go kick off, and he slipped and fell and hit the ball, and the ball rolled 10 yards, and Iowa got it. And I was like, we're going to get our asses beat. We can't even recover like a muffed kickoff at this point. But
yeah, there were games. It's weird because when you think of that 15 years and you just look at it as an entity, you think that Iowa just kicked Iowa State's ass every single year for 15 years. And if you look at the scores over that period of time, the games weren't that lopsided. There were a handful that were.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they were within a couple of touchdowns at the very least. And a lot of them were 3-5 points. You know, I mean, some of those could have been garbage time stuff or whatever, but like, yet and still, it was never, there was still enough passion there, at least out of the players. And there were enough kids from Iowa playing for Iowa State that they wanted that game really bad, you know? And I think it was good for the rivalry, really, in retrospect, when Iowa State won 5 in a row.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Because
Absolutely.
it turned all of us into big assles. I can tell you that.
Oh, for sure.
I was ready to kill people for 5 years.
Well, especially because you know some of those games, Iowa State was not favored and they were winning. So it wasn't just that Iowa State now had become.
I don't know that they were favored in any of them,
right? And
actually,
so, yeah, that's true. And so it really, you know, it now took a lot of those games, like you said, that, you know, I would say it was mid 90s where you started to get some of those, you know, there was like a 10-3 game and like, you know, a couple of those close games, and it took a couple of those close games and started to flip the script. But then, you know, the infamous comeback in Iowa City really kind of made that such a bigger deal. And yeah, it brought new life to that rivalry for sure.
Oh yeah, well, you guys were going to talk about our worst moment. That was mine by far. 2002 you're talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When Ames' own Aaron Greving got a safety in the end zone. No, we're not going to get into that. That's a whole conspiracy theory. He didn't play after that year. Didn't play after that year.
He was a plant.
I wholeheartedly think that happened. No.
Hey, you know,
but I mentioned
give us Adam Haluska. We can go ahead and talk about that.
Oh my God, Iowa State when Haluska went to Iowa. This is actually one of the first moments in my life I can remember where outside of when Hurl played. When Hurl was at Iowa State, I cheered for them every game because he was my friend.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, that supersedes everything else. I even cheered for him against Iowa when he played there because I wanted him to win. But you know, it was very short-lived. It was 4 years long, and I was done. But I mentioned my 20s, you know, and everything. In 2002, you know, we were up. I think we were up 23-7 at halftime, and we're just like talking shit, and everything seems great. And then they come back and win after Greving gets the safety, and I'm not gonna forget that. And Iowa State's band, I was in the south end zone where the opposing band was at the time, and Iowa State's band is playing their fight song. And this is right after we kick the onside kick, don't recover it, and I'm walking up the bleachers. And this Iowa State fan standing on the bleachers and gets right in my face and is clapping right in my face to the fight song. So I gave him like this light little shove because he was standing on the bleachers and I knew he would just tumble. And so I gave him this little shove and he tumbles down the bleachers and gets up to come after me. And one of my friends sees him coming. My friend throws this big haymaker at him. And then a huge dog pile of Iowa State fans jumps on top of my friend. There's like 30 of them. And, you know, we're exiting. So like, it's just me and him, and it turned into this big thing. And all of a sudden I'm snatched up, and I thought for sure, like I was going to jail. And like, I'm like, dude, this is bad. I have weed in my pocket. Like I'm screwed. And I turn and look, and it's just like a couple of other Iowa fans just like trying to break it up. And so we ended up fine and left and everything, because it was the end. So all the security had headed to the exit. So we got really lucky. But that's my lowest moment. You know, I let the guy get under my skin enough to cause that whole big riot. And it was right in the stadium. It was right like on the mezzanine, like, and nothing happened to us. It's crazy.
Did you say that was 2002?
Mm-hmm.
That was my wedding day.
Was that your wedding day? I'm sorry I shoved your husband down the bleachers.
We weren't there.
Oh, that would have been a really bad choice as Iowa State fans to get married at Kinnick Stadium. But
You get married at Kinnick? Ooh, it's not the most romantic place.
How about you, Meg? What was your worst memory?
Worst? Does it have to be about football?
Nope.
Because I have.
the day your dad went out for cigarettes.
No, not that day.
It's
It's actually my mom and dad's anniversary today. They're still together.
Oh, still crazy after all these years.
Still crazy. That's a good way to describe it. I mean, I have some football heartbreaks for sure. Like in 2017, the K-State game with the picked up flags.
That game never happened.
Such a gut
that.
punch.
That was
like-
the one time that I really felt like the fix was in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I think
I've played around with, joking around about things like that, but that was the one time I was like, they are royally fucking us, and they're doing it on purpose.
well, and
Okay, Fran McCaffrey. Okay, Fran.
listen.
Yeah.
I think the hardest, like the toughest thing about that was, and I didn't remember this until I was looking back, there were two picked up flags.
Yeah, there were two of them.
It was two.
There
was
two...
a late hit on Kyle Kempt,
Yep.
who had become our Lord and Savior.
yeah, exactly.
Like we were ready to build a statue to Kyle. And then
because Iowa State was
there
going through a savior quarterback every 5 seconds for a while there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and Kyle Kempt gets his number called against number 3 Oklahoma, and we fucking win. And it's insane. And that's a high point. But anyway, and then there is blatant pass interference on Lazard. Like it's
very blatant. If you look at the pictures now, he's being hugged while the ball is still 5 yards from him.
And they pick it up again. And I just remember being like sick to my stomach. Like they can't do this. This can't happen. And then, you're watching and you're like eagle-eyeing the rest of the game, and they miss a false start against K-State as they're coming back down the field to score. It felt so unfair. And I try really hard to not just blame refs for everything and not just say like this was unfairly, handled. And I think that's kind of a cop out sometimes because, it is what it is. And you have to
fuck
deal
those guys. It was on them.
You have to deal with the consequences. But it very much, like Chris said, it felt like they decided that K-State was going to win that game, and we were not going to get out of there with a win. It wasn't going to happen.
It reminded me of the Naked Gun when he has to keep the inning going so they can find which player is going to kill the queen.
Ball. Ball.
He's calling things ball before they even hit the glove. Like,
look, it's Enrico Palazzo.
But we talked earlier about like at what point do you get too old to get so emotionally invested in 19-year-old kids?
Yeah.
And I will say that game was a huge turning point for me, and I have not nearly been
when you felt okay about.
I've not been nearly as much of a rabid fan since then because I got so frustrated, and I was just inside
Dude,
of myself.
You lose sleep like you got dumped.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, truly.
You're going over it in your head in bed like you played in the game, and that's what I mean when I'm talking about how pathetic it is. Like, man, like if if I would have just made this play at
Yeah,
this time
exactly. Right.
or whatever.
Don't you think too though? Like that's part of what makes it even harder is because you know it's pathetic.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
100%.
like part of your brain knows this is not the end of the fucking world. Like
No.
there are a billion worse things that could be happening,
Yeah.
but you're also devastated at the
But
same
not
time.
in the
like,
moment. Not in
Yeah,
the
not in the
moment. There
moment.
aren't a billion
God.
worse things.
But
you know?
but reflecting
You know
on that
what's
game is when
more-
I went, holy shit, I'm way too invested in this. I need to recalibrate myself on like sports in general. And not that I'm still not a rabid fan, but that was a pivotal game to me because it was like, okay, this is so ridiculous. And this is
Yeah.
so because it felt like a miscarriage of justice, right?
it really did.
Like,
And
like,
you know what? It was. It fucking
was.
was.
right?
It
right?
absolutely was. Like we're not wrong about any of this. Like this is not
Yeah.
an overreaction.
It
on
didn't
our
just
part.
feel like a miscarriage of justice. It felt like a miscarriage. That's how
Like
bad
a
it was.
miscarriage.
God.
It felt like a tumor.
Very
awful.
painful.
Yeah.
Mine
It was awful.
would be easily the UAB game.
Okay, that's my number one, where I actually cried literal tears.
Like, here's why. I'm sitting at work. It's the first game of the entire tournament.
Tim's
And, you know,
okay.
you want to watch the entire weekend, and I'm sitting there at my desk. Our bosses would let us watch it on TV, and I mean, I'm dead fucking silent for a good hour. Like, I don't do anything but just sit at my desk, just stunned, like my life was over.
Yeah, I can't imagine having been at work. Like
I
we were on spring break, and so we were just in Kansas City and watched them come back against Kansas in the final game. We sat right behind the Hoiberg family. It was one of the most fun sporting events I've ever been to. And we just like, it's a lock. Like they're playing UAB. I've never even heard of UAB. Like, do they have a basketball team? I didn't even know.
Those
And
fucking frosted tips, man. Oh,
that was killer. That like I actually cried more than once that day.
I did not.
Because then
watch
it was done. The fun of the tournament, the thing you've waited for all
Yes.
goddamn year is done. It's over. And that
didn't watch
was
another-
brutal.
Second of basketball the entire tournament. I was that sick to my stomach about it.
That's my number one. That's my number one heartbreak as a Cyclone, for sure.
And then you knew Fred was leaving shortly after that, and then you were like, oh, here we go.
That it felt like just the wheels just kept falling off. There was no going back. That was a tough stretch. That was the highest highs and the lowest lows for sure as a basketball fan. Absolutely. My other football heartbreak, I will say, and there's some recency bias here, and you know, all's well that ends well, but Brock Purdy throwing that interception late in the Big 12 championship game really gutted me.
I had given up on that game. I was so frustrated. I was going to go meet up with a friend after the game, and I showed up early. He's like, I thought you were watching the game. I'm like, I'm going to just be in a bad mood if I watch that game. I need to just be done. And he's like, well, it's on TV over here because we met up at a bar. And I was like, oh shit, we came back. God, now I'm invested again.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I got reinvested. So yeah,
That makes it worse.
that gut punch.
That was a tough one.
Yeah.
That was a
You
tough one. And
reminded
it's
me-
hard to feel disappointed in that season as a whole.
But-
And especially like going to the Fiesta Bowl and kicking ass. Like
yeah, right.
I think that helps sort of erase some of that hurt a little bit. But that was tough. And that's one I'd like to have back.
Yeah.
The other one for me was the Louisiana game, and only because COVID had been so bad and everybody had been locked away, and it was my like taste of a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah.
And then we lay an egg, and I was just like, I can't have 5 minutes of fucking happiness here. Like,
Right. We needed a win.
Yeah.
I was really drunk by the end of that game. And I think that's my recommendation is drink so much that you just kind of don't even pay attention.
Didn't even know it happened.
So Bill, you were saying we reminded you of something. I wanted to get back to that. Because
Well, you were talking about the UAB, like, you know, we had when we had Haluska and we were number 3 seed and got beat.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't near the gut punch for me as it was for you guys, you know, with yours. Because I didn't have any real expectations, you know, I just thought maybe Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into this earlier and I got sidetracked. One of the moments for me when I kind of my hatred and stuff kind of lowered was I was at Hilton Coliseum for I don't remember what the game was, but it wasn't against Iowa. But they had T-shirts that said Huck Faluska that they were selling.
Yeah, I remember those.
I as a Hawkeye fan, I looked and just started laughing. Like, I thought it was so funny.
I love that the comedian's like, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was like, that's just funny. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry. I have no connection to Adam Haluska at all. Like, I'd be saying that too. Like, all that. Like,
yeah, huck him.
Well, I mean, there were so few. I mean, there were instances where people that, grew up, top prospect in the state in Iowa City and ended up going to Ames or vice versa, right? And those felt like betrayals, but it was very rare to have someone start the career at one school and then finish at a different, but then also to be a star player and do it.
Yeah.
That I can't think of another one who was a star player and switched schools.
I remember at the time, the year, because Iowa State won the game the year before he transferred. And after that game, they had interviewed Eustace, and he said he was talking about how nobody hates Iowa more than Adam Haluska does. In the interview.
Jesus Christ.
Because he was playing against Jeff Horner and Greg Bruner, and they all played AAU together, blah, blah, blah. I always found that to be hilarious.
I went to high school with Jeff Horner and graduated with his wife.
Oh, so you went to Mason City?
Yep, I'm a Mason City gal.
I still have a Dean Oliver jersey.
I loved Dean Oliver. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Oh, God.
I thought he was heaven.
The bee's knees.
I remember being in
oh my God, Dean Oliver. That's my name.
So dreamy. I was friends with his younger brother too, but that never got me the connection.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why, wasn't it?
It turns out I was a skinny, dorky little freshman, and he was an amazing basketball player and didn't want anything to do with me. It's really weird. I remember being in PE class, and in our school, there were a bunch of PE classes happening at the same time, and so like one class would be down on the gym floor, and then we had to sort of like up behind the stands a spot, and my class was up in the above the stands, above like the bleachers, doing whatever. And we could just hear like a swish of a basketball over and over and over and over. And we looked down, and Dean Oliver's just standing there swishing threes, like
one right after the other.
One after another. Like, yeah.
It'd been great if you did that in Iowa City.
Pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. He was pretty good.
No, he was
City
great.
Basketball was really good because
he had a great career at Iowa. He was amazing.
Yeah,
definitely.
He was one of those players. Like sometimes like so many Iowa players, like on basketball in particular, just have punchable faces.
And he was so cute.
But
he was so cute.
I was gonna say the thing is he was one of those players. Like my whole life, there have been certain Iowa basketball players that I was not an Iowa fan, and I hated Iowa, but I loved BJ Armstrong when I was a kid, probably because he was a scrawny.
He was also cute.
Yeah, because he was
cute.
He's still cute.
Right? Like, because he was.
Hey, BJ.
He was a scrawny guy who looked like 20 years younger than he was. He probably still can't shave.
Right.
I remember like watching an interview when he was in the NBA, and he's like, "Yeah, I still don't like shave every day." But
me neither, because I'm a slob.
Well, yeah.
I was gonna say you all have full beards. I don't understand.
It turned to mine. It was driving me crazy.
Yeah,
that's just out of laziness. It's not a
me.
fashion statement.
Yeah, but like Dean Oliver was one of those players where I should have probably wanted to hate him, but I didn't, just because I respected his game too much.
That's how I was. My guy for Iowa State in that regard, outside of Hurl Luther Beecham. Outside of there's still one of the all-time greatest YouTube videos you'll ever watch is of the Big 8 championship game against Kansas, and they're like, "But who's guarding Hurl Beecham?" You watched that?
I watched that game from Johnny Orr used to have a sports bar on South Duff named after him, and I watched that Big 8 game where Hurl was hitting things from all corners of the court, basically. Yeah, absolutely.
My whole family was losing our minds. Like it was appointment watching for us. I mean, all we did for 2 hours every night Iowa State was on was just go, shoot it, Earl, shoot it, Earl, shoot it, Earl. That's all we did.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But my guy outside of him for Iowa State is Jamal Tinsley. I thought Jamal Tinsley was one of the most amazing point guards I've ever seen in my life. It was like the ball was on a string. He was like a magician. His ball handling was so insane. His passing was so insane. I mean, there's a reason you don't just go play point guard in the NBA. I mean, that dude was so good, and I actually enjoyed watching him. I hated to admit it, but I would totally be all over watching Jamal Tinsley. I thought he was great.
Yeah,
I had two for Iowa. For me, it was AC Earl, but the other one was Chris Street, and not only because he was from Indianola. He was, and I grew up on the south side of Des Moines. I had watched him play, and I just loved watching Chris Street play. And it was, I mean, what a tragedy, but that was me. Other than that, and I loved Tom Davis. I thought Tom Davis got a raw deal.
Yeah, we made that mistake of getting a little too big for our britches, where it was the fans were ready for something more. You know, we never made a Sweet 16 outside of his first season.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to the Elite Eight, we never even got to the Sweet 16. We were in the tournament virtually every year, but we would win that first game, and then we would lose the second one every single year. And, you know, I think the fans it got old, and the fans kind of wanted to see if we could go to the next level. And then Steve Alford was really hot.
Right.
He had taken, I think was it Southwest Missouri State?
Yeah.
He had taken them into the tournament and made a bit of a run, and they were really good. And
plus you saw Lou Olson, your former coach, going off down in Arizona. Right. And so I think a lot of fans went, hey, why didn't we, we already had this talent here, and we got
exactly.
Yeah.
And then, and the thing is, people in Iowa City are pretty down on Alford, and, a lot of it rightfully so. He's kind of a cocky dude, he was arrogant, but
a lot of do you know who I am stories.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of felt like that. He kind of gave that aura off a little bit, but he had a couple of chances if everybody stayed healthy that they would have been like, I mean, in his defense, his best player was either hurt or, in a court case every single year. Or
committing a felony. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call it a felony.
I mean, the legal system did, but
Are you talking about Pierre Pierce?
Yeah.
He didn't get convicted of a felony. He didn't get convicted of anything. That's why he came back. He got convicted of a felony in the court of public opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm just saying, I mean, look at the climate we're in right now. There may be a time I'm risking sounding misogynistic here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. I'm aware, but the climate we're in right now, and I look at that whole situation, and there are some things that, have been said or whatever, but I can't say that's the gospel. But, some of that might have to do with, having this girl having to go home and tell her dad, or, her affluent West Des Moines dad, that she's been sleeping with a black guy. There's an element of that. That's all I'm saying. Take what you want.
I mean, he did plead guilty to assault causing or injury in a sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's not like he.
Have you ever been through the legal system? Do you know what they do to you in those situations?
But then
prosecutors.
He did later get imprisoned though too in 2000.
Yeah, he turned out not to be a great human being. I'm just talking about the moment.
I mean, OJ is not a
OJ did it. Yes, I know. I've actually listened to the If I Did It audiobook
Oh,
on the road one time.
Oh man.
Here's
wait,
the
Does he read it?
Yeah,
does he read it?
no. Here's the
No.
brilliant.
is it like Laurence Olivier reading?
No.
If I Did It?
Morgan Freeman.
what they did was they hired a voiceover guy to kind of sort of sound like OJ.
I listened to this same book, Bill.
Did you? Yes.
Yes.
So they
You did?
yeah.
God, that would
So
be hard to stomach.
Chris
Only
will back
because
me up
I
on
wanted to
this.
support
Here's the
the goal.
brilliance of that
Give him
book.
some money.
Here's the brilliance of that book. So
How did we
OJ
end up on this?
Goes off on a
Pierre
tangent.
Pierce got us to OJ. That's what happened.
Oh Lord.
I love
It was
the
a direct
idea.
line.
No, I love the idea of
This
Morgan
is an
Freeman
O.J.
reading this
Simpson
stuff.
podcast
Yes.
now.
No,
Morgan
so here
Freeman,
is the
like-
brilliance of that book, though. Because do you remember that huge civil suit and all that stuff with the Goldman family?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
The Goldman family has the rights to the book.
Yes.
After he
Yes.
wrote the book,
Yeah.
Mhm.
he was going to put it out and try to profit off of it. But because of that civil suit, the Goldmans are like, no, you don't get to profit off of shit. So they own the book.
So I should at least like download it on Audible. Just to
Right.
give them
And so
some
they
money.
put,
They-
they put the
the
book
name of
out, and
The
the
name
beginning of the book,
was-
the daughter reads why they did it,
Yes.
why they put the book out.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Because they're
And-
basically saying, this is his confession. You all need
Right.
to hear this.
And
well, and isn't
he
it? Isn't
named
the
it-
isn't
If
the
I
cover
Did-
like if I did it? Like
right.
Yeah, and then,
the
like-
if is real small.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yes.
God, I really want to hear Morgan Freeman. Like now, that would get them some real money. I think that would be great.
So he got into his karate stance, and I just laughed at him, little white boy.
And I
Ugh.
said, "You get busy living, or you get busy dying."
You're both about to get busy dying, son.
And neither one of you sound like Morgan Freeman.
We did our best.
Oh well.
My friend Andy Dufresne.
Best memory.
Oh God.
I'll go first with this.
Oh, Chris is gonna get us back on track.
Best memory, the Bronco, when OJ was in the Bronco. Oh,
I liked when his glove didn't fit.
And Al Cowlings.
Johnny
you must, the
Cochran.
glove don't fit. You must have quit.
It really didn't fit though.
Well, because he was fitting it over plastic gloves.
And he stopped taking his arthritis medicine, if you believe
Yeah, so
all-
his hands would swell up.
so his
Yeah.
hands would swell up.
Boy, that Johnny Cochran,
He was a piece of work.
brilliant guy.
Oh, never mind the DNA evidence; it's the gloves.
Yeah. More do you need?
Did you see that he's trending for the other day? He said he didn't want to go back to LA because he never knew if he might be sitting next to the killer.
Oh God. Okay, so
yeah, well, they
That's
put mirrors
right.
next to booths a lot.
That's right. My best memory is
Chris Shipley, the king of transitions.
I love it. I love like no segue at all.
that's right.
My best memory.
2017, the Oklahoma game.
That's a like a top 3.
Because it was such a swing of emotions because I was about 2 weeks into my chemo and radiation treatments.
Oh my.
And I remember I didn't even want to watch the game. And Stacy and I went somewhere for the afternoon and I was like, we're starting who? Like, I'm not even going to watch this. And we got home in the middle of the second quarter and I sat down and started watching it and I was just blown away. Like the amount of swing of emotions in a 2-hour span of complete dread to absolute pure joy that we had beat them. And Alan Lazard crawling around on the end zone on all fours celebrating. That's my all-time favorite moment.
That was an amazing moment. I think I felt like the high from that lasted for days too. Like I felt so happy for so long after that win. And I think part of it was because we went in with zero expectations. Like Jacob Park was injured or missing, or I don't even know like what happened to Jacob Park in that moment.
He
Might have
doesn't
been a
know what
rehab.
happened to him.
He doesn't know. I don't know. Matt Campbell didn't know. And then they're like, we're going to call up Kyle Kempt. And like, we were going to see family that weekend. And we had other friends coming to visit. We were all going to watch the game. And then it just was like, you know, whatever. It'll be a fun weekend. It was a beautiful October day in Iowa, like the most perfect fall day. We were going to go on a hayride. We're like, it'll be a fun day no matter what. And then we fucking won. It was insane. I don't know if you remember that. I forgot what I was going to say. That like feeling like that game wasn't done until the very last second. Like just being an Iowa State fan and kind of knowing how things can go and turn on a dime in the opposite direction for us.
Like Paul Rhodes' last game?
Yes. Like, well, and I think, we had, we still had a lot of Paul Rhodes in our system at that point too. Like
snatched a lot of
where we would start out really strong and you'd think, okay, well, maybe this is going to be something. And then it wasn't.
Snatched a lot of defeats from the jaws of victory for sure.
Yeah.
Well, because no matter what happened in the end, he was so proud.
He was.
So they just didn't feel any pressure and they were like, let's rest on our laurels.
Or
our coach is proud.
Or let's run instead of taking a knee like any.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But no, I was done with him when he came out in the post-game press conference and said we should never beat Texas. That's when I was done with him. You don't say those things.
But Meg, back to your game. Like, I think the thing that made that one so meaningful to me, because like we had had games where we beat Iowa when they were a top 10 team. We had games where we had beat the Huskers, anything from the fluke 8 turnover game to, some of the other games that were going on. We'd had other kind of big wins.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first kind of big win. We had 2011 against Oklahoma State. But that was the first win that while it felt fluky, it also felt like it wasn't a mistake. Like all those other ones, it was like,
we lucked out.
It also was against a top tier team that wasn't Iowa or Nebraska.
Yeah, right. And
Oklahoma,
who had
someone that's historically even better than Iowa and Nebraska.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like exactly. a blue bud.
Because for the longest time, Iowa would be the best team you ever beat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then now you cross that threshold of beating a team like Oklahoma, or you guys just beat Oregon. When would you have ever played Oregon 10 years ago?
I mean, getting a New Year's Six bowl game, winning decisively and finishing in the top 10 is just unreal for sure.
Yeah.
No, I like that one. Bill, how about you? What's a good memory?
Well, I can tell you one thing about that game you guys are referencing is that was one of the few times in my life I actively root against Iowa State no matter who they're playing. Like, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, I want them to win when they don't play Iowa. I know you guys actively root against Iowa. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yes.
To me, it's like we compete for the best recruits in Iowa every year. So it serves our purpose for the other team to suck. Like, that's how I look at it.
Exactly.
But that was one of the few times I found myself, I started rooting for Iowa State. And the Iowa game was over at that point. Iowa kicked off at 11 that day. And the Iowa game got over shortly before. I think maybe there was 3 minutes left or something. And Iowa State didn't have the lead at the time, but they took the lead while I started watching it. And it was one of those moments where I was like, you know what? Fuck Oklahoma. And like, I just started rooting for Iowa State, and it was kind of, it was like the Grinch's heart grew 10 times that day or something. I don't know what happened to me. I'm trying to think. My greatest memory, it's so hard to pinpoint anything because really
Don't even say it. Don't even say it.
My greatest memory, honestly, is my grandparents picking me up at 6 o'clock in the morning with a thermos full of chocolate milk and some donut holes and just sitting in the back seat of their Cadillac that was like, to me, this chariot that only the richest people drove, and to me, my grandparents were just rich. And so like, I mean, that's what it is for me. And that happened every time. And it's just to me, that's my happy place. Like people buy a camper and they go camping, you know, and like me going to Iowa City every Saturday with my friends and tailgating, like that's my camping.
Sure.
And like now at this point in my life, even when we lose, I still have a good time. Like it would ruin my day when we lost before, but now I'm hanging out with all my best friends every week, so it doesn't matter. But game, I'm not going to cop out like that. I would say that game wise, it's a toss up. One of them would be the Capital One Bowl, the quote unquote catch, which was really just a lucky result of really poor clock management. But that going so low, like we dominated that game. And then all of a sudden Jamarcus Russell comes in at quarterback and they take the lead with no time left. And so, you know, my friends and I, we're all in one place watching this, and we're screaming fuck and walking around, and the kids are hiding from us, and like you name it.
I've been
And
there.
then that play happens and we just dogpile in the living room. I mean, we're knocking over furniture. It was amazing to go from that low to that high. It really is a microcosm of my life. Like,
well, because
just manic. It's such a manic, if you think about it. And that's why sports, that's why they use the word fanatic. That's why it's like mania. That's why it's WrestleMania. Because like that's what you are. Like it's a manic. You are totally manic during that 2 hours, 3 hours. You're just manic.
Well, I mean that one was huge. I remember that one. Yeah,
and that's a New Year's Day bowl, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I do cheer against Iowa. That one I was cheering for Iowa, especially because of the way that it went down. Because it was less than a minute when LSU took that lead, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
It was like 50 seconds or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. There was like literally no time left.
Right. And so
somehow.
I could have, well, I'm partially just because I also hate LSU, so I didn't.
Yeah, and that's
right.
Yeah, you can have one of those moments, and that was Nick Saban.
Yeah.
LSU, you know, so you're.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
really,
you know what? Fuck
very
LSU.
good reasons to hate those teams.
When that game started, who I was really rooting for was a giant meteor.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I would say I'll root for Iowa State. I'll root for their bus to crash. You know, like, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, though.
Yeah, but
I used to always say I hope the plane crashes, but Fred Hoiberg lives because I like him.
but the way that game went along, and then the way that it was, I felt, you know, at first I was like, yeah, Hawkeyes, I've been there. I've seen plenty of games where I was certain we were going to win, only to have it lose in the last, minute of the game.
I think we lost you, Bill.
Oh, we lost Bill.
Oh, sorry. I'm here. I'm good. I hit the mute button because I coughed. Sorry. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, the thing, that whole season we played with no running back.
Mhm.
All of our top 3 running backs basically got hurt the first 2 games of the season. And we played that season with Sam Brownlee as our running back from Emmitsburg, Iowa. Basically looked like a fullback. We all called him the Emmitsburg Express. He averaged about 2.3 yards a carry. And we still managed to get into a New Year's Day bowl game. We beat Michigan that year.
Mhm.
Like, it was insane. And when we got to that Capital One Bowl, we actually had Marquise Simmons, I think his name was. He was our running back for that game. Nobody knew who he was. He was like, just, I don't know if he was a red shirt or what. But all of a sudden, this dude was our running back, and he could run a little bit, and we were just so excited. It seemed like everything was going really well, and that's why, like, we thought we had kind of dominated the game, and we thought we were just gonna put it away. But kind of in that true take the air out of the ball fashion, we left room for him.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. And that's one that I think I could even get behind.
And that, so it's a toss up between that and also that same season we beat Ohio State. And that was the first time in my life I'd ever seen us beat Ohio State.
And Ohio State is the one exception to my I always cheer against whoever is playing Iowa rule. Ohio State.
Yeah, they're evil.
I want nothing but terrible things to them, and they don't need definite articles. They are just an Ohio State University. I like they just.
Oh yeah,
drive me up the wall.
To me, all those teams like that, like Ohio State, Alabama, to me, those are all Dowling.
Oh yeah,
like
no,
if you grew up on the north side of Des Moines like me, you fucking hate Dowling.
That's
you grew up on the south side and hate him too, Bill.
Exactly. You guys hate him even more, actually.
We hate him even more.
Southsiders do, yeah. If you went to stinking Lincoln, you definitely hate Dowling.
Yes, you do.
Because we have the same problem. They take our best athletes,
yes, right.
and they do it under the guise of it being a Catholic institution. Trust me, everybody I knew that went to Dowling wasn't fucking Catholic.
Right, no. Right. I mean, Notre Dame is the size of a student population, is a tiny school.
Yeah.
Right. Some of these programs that you see that are tiny schools that are getting these well, because like even this year, Ohio State, I think the 2021 class for them has like the number one quarterback recruit in the nation and the number one running back and the number one wide receiver. And probably like a couple others. Like this is one of the best recruiting classes they've ever had, and they've had amazing recruiting classes. So,
yeah, and if you look at them, that's the thing. Ohio State is like the only team in the Big Ten that has a roster chock full of 4- and 5-star guys.
Yeah,
even Michigan's not on that level, and that's why all this shit's happening with the SEC. The top 4 or 5 teams in the SEC are top to bottom 4- and 5-star guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, why would Ohio State go anywhere? They're ruling the roost.
Yeah, that rumor that the SEC is maybe thinking about plucking Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Probably they would like to have them, but I don't see why they would want to go to them, which is the question I ask myself why Texas and Oklahoma would want to go to them, other than money. But I mean, they're in the Big 12.
That's it.
Yeah, full stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
But the goal is to win national championships. Their better option is to at least get into the college football playoff by being in the Big 12.
I think they're banking on the fact that the college football playoff is going to be blown up.
I think, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not going to be the same thing.
Well, we also live in this world where doing the right thing, like putting people over profit and stuff like that, is it's like
What's that?
Unicorn when somebody actually does it.
It's like Matt Campbell.
Yeah, maybe. So far.
Yeah, I mean, I was having this conversation with my dad because my dad tends to idealize the 60s and 70s when he was in college and when he had graduated.
Free love, man.
Well, just more like just Iowa State. Actually, college athletics were about college, amateur athletics, and it wasn't all about money. And I was like, Dad, you're loving this current run here. We're able to have the facility upgrades and keep up with everyone. And
yeah, that's why we're getting better.
Yeah, we're getting that because of money. So if you want to say, hey, let's get money out of it, I'm like, well, then you're not going to be. First of all, do you remember back in the 90s when we could watch 3 Iowa State games a year if we were lucky because they weren't on TV? Do you remember that, Dad? Now you can watch every single Iowa State game, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country. There's a good chance you're going to be able to see it. Like, right, wrong, or indifferent, decrying money in sports this year is, complaining about the train long after it left the station.
We all have that old white guy that doesn't want anything to change inside of us.
Yeah, it's called Chris.
Whoa.
Like
Fruitful.
Just you know what I mean? Like it's that everybody does the back in my day.
Yeah.
Everybody does that. It's been going on forever. It's been happening. Every generation thinks that the next one did something stupid. The next one's lazy. Everything.
Yep.
There's no.
No,
I mean, I found myself I found myself being get off the lawn, dude. I don't know how many times in the last few years, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to me?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a cycle that perpetuates itself, and no generation is really entirely different. Except for the kids these days. I really want to talk about
God
what is
damn it.
The worst.
I have a bit that I do about that kind of very thing, about how I'm saying how every generation thinks the next one's lazier. And I'm talking about my son taking it to a new level. Like, I bought him a PlayStation and he uses it to watch other people play video games. How lazy he is. But then it's like, you turn that mirror on yourself, and you go like, oh, I'm being back in my day guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in that context, it's like, how do I have that conversation? Like, what am I going to say? Back in my day, we actually played the video games.
Yeah.
Because we were so outgoing.
Yeah. We went through 8 worlds to save that princess. We weren't fucking around.
Yeah.
We did it barefoot and by ourselves. And,
Yeah.
I mean, but that is what we are now.
Back in my day, we stayed inside on a beautiful summer day to play video games, but our basement had fake wood paneling.
And no AC.
Back in my day, we played whatever sport was in season until it got dark, and then we played our video games.
You had to blow into a cartridge.
So did Dad, to be able to start the car. It was a weird.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, that's the Capital One Bowl and the beating Ohio State. Both, I think, kind of in the same season, because Drew Tate was our quarterback. And I remember I had another adult moment during that time, because we like beat their ass. Like, we beat them pretty bad. And I was in the stadium for it, and it was amazing. And I'm leaving, and I remember talking to a couple of little kids, like, you need to understand what you just saw. Like, we don't just beat Ohio State. Like, we beat Michigan kind of regularly, like here and there, and it was always a big game. But like, beating Michigan was one thing. We just could never. It seemed like we never beat Ohio State. So we beat the piss out of them, and we're walking back to the car or whatever, and there's this dude that's just hammered walking through this up and down Melrose, just going, "We just beat the shit out of Ohio State." He just keeps saying it over and over and over, and like walking up to people and invading space. And he's like right next to me, and I was like, somebody needs to beat the shit out of you. And everybody starts laughing. And that was an adult moment for me, because 5 years prior I'd have been going, "We just beat the shit out of Ohio State. Come here, 4-year-old. Let me cuss at you some more."
Yeah, I did have a time watching the Insight Bowl against Minnesota. What was that, 2005?
Us?
No, I this was Iowa State,
guys.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Minnesota won, right?
No, we won.
Oh yeah, you guys won.
We won, but I remember.
Didn't you guys like play in the Insight Bowl like 3 years in a row or something crazy?
We lost
like
to
that?
Alabama on a missed field goal.
Yeah, that was also when we got jobbed.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't this Alabama then, but isn't that crazy to think about?
Right. Right. It's not that long ago that we had a chance at beating Alabama in a bowl game. Yeah, I know. I still wish we would have won that just to be able to have that. Like, well, the last time we played Alabama,
we beat Alabama.
Game, we beat them. Yeah.
I don't know why everyone thinks they're so good.
Yeah, right. I mean, even we beat them, but no.
Yeah, and then you sound like Nebraska talking about their national championships all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
I believe it was 2009.
2009. God. Anyway,
I mean, there were no Stanford.
We played Minnesota, and it was a pretty close game. And I remember being at a sports bar and something, I don't even remember what the play is, but I swore, and I turned around, and there was like this older retired couple just having dinner, and I immediately turned around and I was like, "Oh, I am so sorry. I just got caught up in the heat of the moment. I'm sorry. I shouted out an obscenity 5 feet from your guys' face or whatever." And like later, after the game was over, they came over to my table and they said, we're glad that your team won and thank you very much for apologizing to us." And nothing made me feel smaller, but it was like perfect and humbling and
They
like,
killed you with kindness.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And
Because
if you've ever
they didn't
You
have
got Sarah Silverman.
they didn't have to like yell at me or whatever. I felt immediately bad about it, but the way that they did that, it was just like, I know I shouldn't.
I had that moment. I had that moment with some Iowa State fans one time. I'm in Kinnick, and this is again in my 20s, and it was somewhat of a close. It was like one of those 10-3 games.
Mhm.
And we won, but like opening drive, we went straight down and scored like it was nothing. And I'm fucking, we're gonna whoop your ass, and I'm screaming, I'm all pumped up. And then the refs make a couple of like really shitty calls.
Here we go.
And I'm,
Here we go,
I'm screaming.
Fran.
Well, we were playing Kansas State, so it was okay. Is it okay? Is it okay if we're playing Kansas State? Can I?
Was it Big 12 refs?
Probably.
We have an entire wall. We have an entire wall of apology letters.
So, but I just remember like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs in public. I'm like, "You cocksuckers! Fuck you!" I'm screaming at the refs like I'm being an idiot, right? And this lady, there were like 4 Iowa State fans in front of us. It was like a woman who was probably my age now at that time, and her husband, and I think their kids were like maybe college age kids. And she turned around, was like, calling me to task for my language.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I was like, you're an Iowa State fan. I don't give a fuck what you think or whatever, right? So then we're ahead like 10-3 at halftime. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, I'm going to bring some really bad karma into this place if I don't. So I tapped her on the shoulder and I was like, ma'am.
And she punched you in the face.
She probably should have.
Yeah, she's like, ma'am, I'm really sorry. It's like, yeah, you should be, you cocksucker.
Yeah. She punched me in the face and she called me a cunt. It was perfect.
And then you married her.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm into age gap relationships.
Absolutely.
So she's like, and I just said, man, I go, look, that was really bad. I apologize. I was like, I'm not acting like an adult at all. Like, that was horrible. So I was like, I'm sorry. I wasn't being an adult and I'm sorry. And she was gracious. And then by the end of the game, we were like cordial and making jokes and stuff. And we won. And I'm convinced it's because I apologized to that lady. Because I really didn't give a shit to apologize to her at all. I just thought
you did.
I did it
You're
for karma
full of
reasons.
it. Yes, you did.
It was all about the karma for the Hawkeyes.
You're a liar. You felt bad.
You fucking softy, shut up.
You did. It broke your heart. We know.
It did break my heart, actually. It was really bad.
I know.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Chris, what other things do we have on our list we wanted to touch on with these guys?
Let's wrap up with we'll wrap up with a few things here. Let's wrap up with what our expectations are going into the season. So Meg, we'll start with you. What's considered a success?
Oh gosh. Whew, that's a big question. And I mean, I don't speak for everybody. Okay. Like not everybody feels the same way, right? As what I'm about to say. But my feeling is we have to take this season a game at a time. We have to not like if last year taught us anything, laying an egg in the first game does not spell disaster for the rest of the season, right? So we need to step back from the ledge if UNI somehow pulls out something crazy. Like, I think that's a game that a lot of people are nervous about, honestly. Like,
Trap game.
We should
and
be.
maybe and not it's not unjustified to feel that way.
Mhm.
I feel like, and I don't feel like, it's true, there have been steps to improve every season that Matt Campbell's been here. There have
Mhm.
been marked improvements, and if you look big picture, I think that we can expect great things. So I would say we're maybe 11-1. I think maybe we lose to Oklahoma.
Iowa.
We're not losing to Iowa. I think maybe we lose to Oklahoma, possibly. And then we're in the championship game, the Big 12 championship game, and then we're in the playoff.
I actually think we should take this year off from the CyHawk game because I don't think it's
fuck
fair.
off.
I don't think it's fair.
Immediately off.
I don't think it's fair that you guys get 2 home games in a
I think
row.
it's good that it's okay that we're good.
No, I just don't think
my
it's fair that you
ass.
get 2 home games in a row.
I don't
think that
care if you
I
think
think
it's
either
fair.
it gets
I don't
rescheduled
care
for
if you think it's fair.
either it gets rescheduled for Kinnick or we don't play.
I don't think
think
it's
it's
fair. You
simple.
guys
I
get to
don't
play. You only have to play Ohio State like once every 63 years.
Well, populate your fucking conference and you'll know what it's like.
Don't talk about our conference too soon. We don't want to talk about it.
You guys clear the
so-
room faster than a beer fart in that fucking conference.
It's not Iowa State's fault. So I think 11-1, 10-2, and then I think Big 12 championship again, maybe a win. I think we have to have a win if we're going to go into the playoff.
Yeah, I'm on board with you. I'm, however, pushing all of my chips in on the UNI game. We absolutely cannot start slow.
Right.
We need to go out. As much as Matt Campbell has been amazing, every year we've started
Yes.
a slow start in
sure.
the first game, and it's been brutal.
Yeah.
To watch.
It's
Like,
a
I don't know what
Well, and I don't think
happens there,
yeah.
but we cannot do that this year. We've never been in a better position than we've ever been in our life.
Right.
Now is the time, and if this isn't it, I don't know when it is.
Right.
Single biggest preseason expectations in Cyclone football history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Following, the best season in Cyclone history.
Here's
and,
something
and,
that you-
and getting what percentage of our players back and the
Yeah.
leadership on that
90,
team. Like,
70%.
yeah, you're not going to have it set up to be what
Right.
it should be again, probably, and at least not for
This
a very
is
long
this
time.
is
So
George Niang's senior year in basketball.
don't even fucking say it. Why did you have to? Don't.
Here's what you guys
Not
have to
very
keep
smart.
in mind, though. Here's what you have to keep in mind. Like, and it probably sounds a little bit arrogant, like in my fandom or whatever, but I've been where you guys are right now so many times, and we just didn't quite conquer that hill, get over that hump or whatever, which I think really just kind of lends itself to the fact that we still are getting the most out of the least at both of our programs.
Sure.
So once you get to a certain level, it's really hard to get over that hump. It kind of plateaus. And what you have to do is you have to like really enjoy those special seasons if you can.
Which is why I'm saying
Yeah.
take it a game at a time. Especially like we didn't get to do shit last year. Like,
But maybe the best thing that could possibly happen to you is that UNI game, you win by
win
a
by
last
5
second field
touchdowns.
goal.
So
Or
it's
like you have to
no, I get what you're
you have
saying.
to block a
I do.
punt or something,
Mhm.
because
Right.
like I've seen that happen like
Mhm.
with our special seasons. Like the 2009 season, we started undefeated before Ricky Stanzi got
Yeah, what
hurt.
was it, like 9-0, 10? Like,
Yeah,
it was
we started
insane.
9-0.
Yeah.
And if you at the beginning of that season, we had to block a UNI game-winning field goal twice.
Twice.
yeah,
We had to block 2 field goals in a row to beat UNI.
Right.
And then we go 9-0 after that. And we
Right.
beat all these Big Ten teams.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
then we
Well,
go
and I
play
think-
Ohio State at Ohio State without Ricky Stanzi and take them to overtime.
Right.
So
I see what you're saying, Bill, but I just don't know that my heart can take that anymore.
of course your heart can't take it, but that's the reality of what we're dealing with. And that's
Yeah.
why you have to temper your expectations.
It's tough. It's tough because yeah, on the one hand, things could not be lined up any more beautifully for this team that we've
Yeah.
been cheering for a long time, and we've been waiting for something like this for a really long time. So it's very hard to not just
Mhm.
completely like lose your mind about the possibility of what
Well,
could
like
happen
as a-
this season.
As an Iowa fan, I look back on Chad Greenway's senior year
Mhm.
at Iowa.
Yep.
That was our best group of recruits we'd ever had. That was the most expectations. We had so many returning starters. Our defense was supposed to just be locked down. And I think we went 7-5, maybe, or 6-6. Like, it was pathetic. And then what they did was they went back to their roots and they started being a developmental program again. They
Mhm.
started just going back to those 3-4-star guys and developing them.
Yeah,
And I think that Matt Campbell has a grasp on that.
absolutely.
I think he's smart enough, because the thing about coaching, the reason I love coaching is in coaching, it's okay to copy people. Like
Mhm.
in coaching, it's okay to look at what this coach did over here and model it somehow to your program or whatever else. And I think that if Matt Campbell's being honest, he's kind of looked at what Kirk Ferentz has done at Iowa, and he's like, this is the blueprint to success in coaching in the state of Iowa. It's becoming it's going and getting these guys with a whole bunch of potential. Like we'll go get a guy that plays quarterback at his high school and turn him into a linebacker.
Mhm.
Like that's the kind of stuff that you have to do around here. You got to be creative.
Mhm.
And we do have some really good high school athletes here, D1 level high school athletes, but not the numbers. And even now, a lot of our best athletes are going to go out of state. You know, it's back to Dowling and Des Moines again. You know, Alabama's Dowling. So if we ever get the 4 or 5 star guy, he's got his eyes on Dowling. He's getting his offers from Alabama and Clemson.
Right.
So, you know, the likelihood of us having an abundance of players like that coming to either one of our schools is slim to none. So you it's gotta be development. So you have to have consistency within your coaching staff, and it has to stay that way for a while.
Right. And I think that's the mountain that Iowa State's climbing right now. Like that's what's happening in this exact
Keep a
moment.
good coach.
That's what's happening in this exact moment for Iowa State is the coaching staff is now across the board, everything that Matt Campbell has in his vision. And he has recruited, you know, not 5-star players, but people that fit his program and fit his vision. And, you know, I just, in Matt Campbell, I trust. And I think we're in for something really special this year.
Well, in Kirk, I've trusted for a really long time, so I get it.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, there's two people that I respect at Iowa State more than
Me.
anything else. Now.
I don't like work there or anything, but
Right. But I wear the shirt. And I bought it at the bookstore because I'm brilliant. I didn't get it at Walmart.
because I'm so much smarter than you.
Which Chris, you know about my license plate. We need to go there before this is over.
Yeah,
Oh no.
we do.
Let me finish my
But-
beer quick.
Matt Campbell and Jamie Pollard, I have an immense amount of respect for both of those guys.
As you should.
Jamie Pollard knows how to make a splash. He knows, he knows how to market.
And he knows how to
I-
take no shit.
I get a little bit annoyed with the hashtags here and there every once in a while. It's kind of a PJ Fleckish thing, but at the same time, I get it.
Kim did not like that.
I do not like
The
PJ
guy
Fleck.
that looks like PJ.
Yeah, because PJ Fleck's all about the hashtag grow the boat.
Oh
Hashtag
God! The fact that he was like that he took names off of their back of their jerseys and put Gophers on there because we're all one team. And then he put fucking oars on the helmet because it's all about his mantra, because nothing about a Gopher has anything to do with rowing a boat. So it's not about any individual.
Well,
Are you
maybe
saying gophers don't row boats?
I think he's saying they're Vikings, kind of, because they're in Minnesota.
It's just the man drives me insane. And when people wanted him at Iowa State, I hated him before when he was at Western Michigan.
I think was it Central Michigan? Was
I
don't know. Who gives a shit? A directional Michigan
Directional
school.
Michigan.
Directional Michigan. Directional Michigan U.
And he put out that video where he was like, we're going to play for whom the bell tolls, and we're going to have a hand signal, and we're going to do, like, you have to watch this video because, I mean, the guy is a major tool. But
I agree with you.
Is even more of a tool in this video. And just slogan, like, you go up to him, if you see him just at like Whole Foods, and you're like, hey, coach, how's it going today? He'll go, elite, and just keep walking. Like, that guy. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Oh man, he's got like
elite.
Is he like 5'8"?
He's got like
hey.
He's got like Steve Alford's cockiness, but like if Steve Alford were like
never accomplished anything,
a giant douchebag.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say if he were like created in some sort of Abercrombie and Fitch factory,
Wait, or maybe the American Girl doll store at the Mall of America.
The guy.
I will not stand for American Girl smack talk on this podcast. You will not.
She's evidently taken $1 or $2 to the hospital.
They fix their hair when you braid it too much.
Oh my goodness. My daughter does not know that store exists, and as long as I can help it, she will not know that store exists.
It'll happen.
Yeah. Sorry. You're right about Jamie Pollard. He does get a little too kind of whatever. And he also
but it's a give and take. That's the thing. Like the positives so far outweigh the negative when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, I think
I think a lot of it has to do with like our Midwestern kind of Iowa upbringing, where we're taught to just be humble.
Yes.
And when Jamie Pollard's doing some of the stuff he does, it doesn't look like a humble thing, and that's a turn off.
Well, I mean, he also gets
especially
whiny and petulant and blocks people and all that stuff.
Well,
too,
but we also got. I mean, that's why weed's still illegal here. We just need a lot of old Republicans to die, and we'll be fine.
I think there's like there's something about though, like the level of sort of the cockiness, but that sometimes like a great leader is usually a good delegator. Like he's very good at hiring people who fit the bill, who fit what.
And
he
I don't
needs.
think he's cocky. He doesn't come off to me as cocky. Where he comes off to me when I get annoyed he comes off to me like he's trying too hard. Like he doesn't really come off to me as cocky. He comes off to me more as like, I don't know, just, you know, anytime you try to have a hashtag, like I've always hated, like when you drive around Des Moines before any season starts and they're advertising, you know, season tickets. And there's always, you know, when Paul Rhodes was there right before football season, the billboard said hashtag so proud. And then like the next year, the billboard says
you made that
hashtag trust the process. And then the next year it's hashtag
win in the dark.
One family or whatever the fuck. Like there's always
Storm
a
is
thing.
brewing.
Yeah, storm is brewing, whatever. Like that kind of shit kind of annoyed me. But I get it.
Storm is brewing I hate because that's a little QAnon-ish, and I don't like that at all. But yeah.
What's a little QAnon-ish? I missed that.
The storm is brewing. That's a QAnon saying. So if we start
don't tread on me.
If we start saying the storm is brewing this season, we're gonna get a whole bunch of QAnon nerds in our mention.
Shut it down.
But here's how you.
When we go Cyclone 1, we go all. So yeah.
Here's how you take the sting out of that. You take footage of the Capitol storming thing, and then you just cut immediately to the Princess Bride, where he's like, "Have fun storming the castle," and it will just take it all. You'll be able to sit back and just say, "Forgive them; they know not what they do. They're just too stupid."
But yeah, no, you're right. He does get a little too kind of like
Hashtaggy.
Like, well,
I'm just gonna coin that term. He gets too hashtaggy.
I mean, I think a leader knows that their primary role is to inspire people towards a better future.
Yes.
Ultimately, a leader needs to inspire people towards a better future. And for the number of years I spent in the corporate world before I got out of corporate, hashtags and slogans and mantras and all of that shit is abundant in the corporate world, and it's there because right, wrong,
it
or
works.
indifferent, it works.
It's there because it works.
Yeah,
It's in public education too.
Yeah. Well, and because the
No,
thing
yeah.
is, people that can't stand that fake bullshit on the same level as guys like you and I get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So the people that are still there, that shit works on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so like,
it's like a cult. I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid, but it works because enough people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll get them to drink the Kool-Aid as long as it helps me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know. But I mean, I've said this forever. Like, you spend your whole childhood trying to get out of being a child. Like, you can't wait to be an adult and have the freedom to make your own decisions and this, that, and the other thing. But then you find that you actually get treated that way the whole rest of your life.
You're never making
unless you're the CEO, unless you're working for yourself. You still, I mean, how ridiculous is it that insurance companies to this day treat you like you're in elementary school? Like, hey, if you guys meet our goals this week, you can wear jeans on Friday. Like, hey,
it's sad because it's true.
On Tuesday, we get to eat outside, guys.
Yeah,
it's such a quicker route to recess.
Don't talk shit about elementary schools.
I was gonna say it really is.
I'm saying that they
much,
treat you like you're a child in elementary
first
school.
grade thing.
That's
It
what I'm
really
saying.
is. Yeah, absolutely.
And trust me, I adore teachers. You are aces in my book. I think you guys are saints, living saints.
I will
especially
say this.
Public school teachers.
I will say this about Jamie Pollard and like the blocking people and things. When you think of the amount of bullshit that he probably has to wade through, there's something about that I like. That it's
at least be smart enough to turn off your notifications.
That it's
don't worry about it.
It's just I get to filter what comes my way. I don't have time for this nonsense. Like, I kind of like that. I kind of respect that. And
you can mute conversations. You can mute people.
Sure. Or
social media gives you
can
the
just
ability.
block people. You can block people who are dickheads. You don't have to listen to what they say, and you don't have to allow them access to you. You don't have to. You just block them.
And I'm fine with blocking people. It just seems like sometimes the things that he's blocked people over are supporters of him.
Who are just being critical in a moment.
Right.
Or maybe even giving a fair criticism. Like, if you're
sure.
going to put yourself as the public face of a public university, public. I'm sorry, there's a lot of public there for you to feel like things
and
need to be
expensive.
Yeah.
Well, especially the position you're in. I mean, you're kind of the king of the castle. I mean, you're gonna have to answer to some stuff.
I get that, and you say something, he reads it, and then he blocks you. I mean, he's read it, right? Like, I don't know. There's something about that whole fuck off attitude that I don't hate. I just don't. Like, I will have people say things to me on Twitter that I just think, I don't know you. This isn't your real name. There's no photo of you.
That's what I hate more than anything is the fake name.
I will instantly block you. Fuck off. Like, I have no time for such nonsense. I have no time. I hold myself in high enough regard, and so does Jamie, that I don't have time to wade through the bullshit.
I'm fine with blocking trolls, but if I want my message to get out to my fan base and I'm starting to block my fans because I can't handle it, I'm actually being counterproductive. And that's where I'm at with him.
Sure.
First name 7
Tim
numbers.
Johnson says that Jamie Pollard's a cunt. You heard it here first.
Why do I think Tim's already blocked by Jamie?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't tweet.
It's weird because
the last athletic director that I ever contacted was Bruce Vandevelde, and he sent me a really snarky email. He said, "Have you ever been an athletic director?" I said, "No, I'm an an alumnus who has an opinion that wants to share things, and
Mhm.
I was cocky. I was in my 20s or whatever, but he's like, well, if you've never been an athletic director, then you don't really get an opinion. And I said, have you ever been president? No. Oh, so do you get an opinion? And
Yeah, that's such a stupid thing to say.
do you vote on these things?
That's why he didn't
And
last.
then we didn't renew his contract right after that, and I felt a little vindicated.
That seems validated. The thing we have to remember, though, is we all make assumptions about other people's jobs that we have no idea what they are.
Absolutely.
And what they entail.
Absolutely.
And it happens a lot with entertainment where, a celebrity is known as being difficult or being a douchebag because they wouldn't sign your autograph when they were eating with their family and stuff like that. Like for me, from a personal standpoint, like, cause you brought up, like, you're doing this is public, right? You're a public figure. Well, when I go on stage and people start heckling, or I make that sound like it's like a crowd of hecklers, but every once in a while you just have a guy or whatever
who's been overserved.
I don't know, Bill,
or whatever.
Your shows, there are probably a lot of people.
But what I'm saying, when I do them in Ames, yes.
It wasn't me the last time. I'm just saying.
That's true.
The last time.
You provoked attack.
But there'll be like, one of the things you have to be careful of as a comic is when you're in, like, let's just use the Funny Bone for an example. I know Chris has been there. I don't know if you guys have.
I've been there, yeah.
Or a comedy club at all. If someone right in the front row is being disruptive, no one else in the crowd hears them but you. They're right in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you start going in on that table right away, it makes you look like a person that can't handle your job.
Yeah.
Right.
Because no one in that crowd heard what they said to you. They have no idea what's going on. And so you have to sit there and let them hang themselves. You have to let them go until it's very clear that the rest of the crowd's annoyed by them too. And at that point, you don't even have to be creative. You can just say, shut up, you drunk fucking loser, and everybody claps. Like, you don't even have to say anything creative. But the thing is, when you go at them too soon, and then you turn the entire crowd against you because of that, it's because that entire crowd thinks you signed up for this.
Right.
Everybody thinks as a comic, you signed up to get heckled. And you need to be able to handle that, or you shouldn't do this. Well, that's one of the biggest lines of bullshit I've ever heard, for all of us comics. Yeah, we got to learn how to handle it because it's what do you call it? Like a hazard of the job. But nobody who has hazards in their job wants to deal with the hazards.
Right.
So, like, a lot of people look at Jamie Pollard when he's responding or blocking or whatever, and they're like, you signed up for this, motherfucker. No, he didn't, actually. He signed up to run an athletic program at a university. And the fact that he has to be public. And he's
very good at it.
Yeah. And the fact that he has to be a public figure is a necessary evil.
Well said.
So he's got to cope with that. But no one's prepared for that.
Right.
No one goes into that being prepared to deal with it.
There's not a college course.
No.
On,
Sure.
For example, dealing with parents as a
look at
public
Kevin
school
Durant.
educator.
Well,
That's not
Kevin
a thing.
Durant's one of the most sensitive tweeters on planet Earth, and everybody's like, you should rise above that. You got NBA championships and gold medals, yet he's still going, bitch, fuck you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I'm not saying that Jamie Pollard can't go back on trolls or whatever. It just seems like it's gotten to the point. There have been periods where he has blocked like legitimate fans.
Sure. Well, basically, if you were like his publicist, you would say to him, hey, maybe don't do that.
Yeah. And I think that's where I've gotten is don't like the only celebrity that's blocked me is Ken Jeong. And I did not even tweet at him directly. I literally just said, Dr. Ken didn't look like it was funny. I didn't tag anything. And he had set up some notification or was searching Twitter one night for any mention of Dr. Ken. And he sent me the jerk off gif from The Hangover and then blocked me. It's one of my proudest moments.
That's so cowardly.
Like, yeah, like I didn't.
No, that's fucking
right.
You don't get to drop the mic if you said something and then blocked.
Well, and
You only
I
get to drop the mic if you say something and that person doesn't have a comeback. That's
and-
when you get to drop the mic.
and well, and I didn't even. It was an innocuous tweet. I was just like, Dr. Ken doesn't look like it's that funny. That is literally the tweet. Dr. Ken doesn't look like it's funny. Didn't tag him. Didn't tag anything. There had to have been 10,000 tweets about the show Dr. Ken.
Just
Yeah.
happened to see that.
I will say, if you go searching for an insult,
Yeah.
then you get what you get. Like, no
Yeah.
one can help you at that point.
Googling yourself is not a healthy thing.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Well, I mean,
No, I'm saying like
it's good for
Googling
your
yourself is
prostate.
not healthy. Like
For your prostate.
it might be.
Now this
depending
is
on
a
your-
medical podcast.
Depending on your definition of Google. But
It's not a medical podcast. That's for
what I'm
sure.
saying is like but look at it. I mean, you would think that a guy like that would be above any of this,
Yeah.
and he's clearly not.
Yeah.
And that's what we forget. We forget it with these college athletes. We forget it with professional athletes. We forget
Absolutely.
it with everybody. Everybody's a human being.
Mhm.
At the end of the day,
It can only take so much.
everybody's just a human being.
Yep.
You can
They
you
all
can
take-
only handle so much criticism and so much, and when you're in a position like Jamie Pollard's or the president of the United States for that matter, like anything, the loud minority, especially in this day and age, gets way more play than the silent majority, because the majority doesn't give a shit.
Mhm.
But the 1 out of 5 people that does lodges a complaint, and whoever reads that complaint thinks that equates to millions.
Oh, for sure. For
Which
sure.
is easy to do. I mean, that's, yeah,
Also a human reaction.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I forgot
Well-
where that question started.
I think we were asking for your prediction on the season.
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten that yet.
I predict that Jamie Pollard's going to block me on Twitter.
He's gonna block Tim for sure. Tim's fucked.
Yeah.
You guys are fooling yourself if you think Jamie Pollard's listening to our podcast.
Well, Dr. Ken obviously Googled himself to block Tim. I'm pretty sure when you started this, you thought you were kidding yourself if you were going to get Marcus Pfizer.
You're down right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's not.
There's some truth to that. I do remember the time I sent the message to Coach McCarney, and he answered me back in 5 minutes and said, "Sure, I'd be happy to come on." And I was like,
Oh
What the-
no.
I told Tim, I go, I don't know what happened, but we could be in trouble. We're gonna get found out really fast how much of a
he
fraud we
wasn't
are.
supposed to say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when he said that we were really professional, my mind was blown.
It was
So-
it was like whenever my dog catches a rabbit and suddenly is like, oh shit, I don't know what to do with this now. I didn't think I was gonna catch this.
I don't even
thing.
like rabbits.
We'll wrap it up with this.
Okay.
He didn't make his predictions for the season yet.
Nobody cares about Iowa.
God damn it.
Seven wins. That's Kirk Ferentz's average, right?
Yeah, better than your fucking average, dickhead.
Did I tell you that Bill and I are friends?
Win 7.
My
and drink
prediction
some
for
beer.
Iowa is, I mean, honestly, there's some truth to what Chris said. I mean, really, because we've just kind of, it's like I was explaining to you guys earlier with our 2 programs, the way you got to build them, the way you got to develop them. You have special seasons, and when you have those special seasons, what happens is you win about 3 or 4 like nail biters. Like you win 3 or 4 games that are within 3 points by the end of the season. And that lends itself, that makes your margin of victory, your margin of error so small that an 11-1 season and a 7-5 season is almost the exact same personnel in any given year. because it just comes down to how they execute at different times during that season. Like, we don't have the luxury of having a roster full of NFL guys. We got a handful. So that's just the reality of what we're dealing with. I mean, we're not in that the rich get richer place.
So which season is this season for Iowa?
I think
what do you think going
I think that this season is probably, we have, as far as I know right now, we have no defensive line. Our defensive backfield's good. Linebackers are always solid. Defense is rarely our problem. It kind of comes down to what kind of quarterback Petrus is going to be. Petrus, I don't even know how to pronounce his fucking name anymore. It really comes down to like what kind of quarterback he's going to be, what kind of running game we're going to have. You know, we've got a couple of NFL guys on the offensive line, but that's still kind of a patchwork situation. But Tyler is good, son. So
Oh no.
You know, if the running game works out the way I hope it does, I worry sometimes offensively that we don't use a running back like him the way we should. Like, I always felt like Akram Wadley should have been like Marshall Faulk.
Mhm.
Like, that dude should have touched the ball 30 times a game, whether it was passed or ran. And I feel like Tyler Goodson's that same thing. Like, we should be throwing him the ball, handing him the ball. We've always been really bad at just going, this is our best player, let's just let him go.
Well, Chris is a Bears fan, so he can relate to that.
Gotta take shots after shots.
Back when I started Deadeye, I knew I wanted to innovate the barbecue game. Since day one, we've offered a premium barbecue product unlike anything else on the market. Great Aunt Irene had something special tucked away on a recipe card in her cupboard, and there was no way we weren't going to do something about it. So we decided to take it one step further, introducing Deadeye Superfood Barbecue Sauce. We've got 5 new flavors: Graviola, Acerola, Pink Guava, Acai, and Dragon Fruit. They're the first of its kind, and they're packed with flavor. Find it at your local grocer today or at deadeyebbq.com.
Only 5 seconds ago, listener, when we took a break, we had asked Bill to tell us about his license plate.
Okay.
Oh God, did we never even get there?
No.
Ooh.
My license, I have Hawkeye license plates,
Gross.
and and they say Walmart fan.
Oh, great.
And I love your reaction because that tells me you know exactly why they say that.
That's
That's
fantastic.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Everybody knows why.
It's
That's
my
amazing.
it's my 8 Mile thing. I'm just like, you know, like, you remember 8 Mile, the end when he's just like, yes, I live in a trailer park. Yes, yeah. And that's
I like
kind of
the
my
ownership. Mhm.
yeah, I'm a Walmart fan. Fuck you. Like, yeah.
Oh, it's perfect.
Because I mean, like, you know, I put the whole thing together. My grandparents took me to games since I was a little kid, and you know, the lack of pro sports, that was the thing to do. And you know, I mean, my my grandpa owned a pallet company. You know, they were members of a country club and all that stuff. But that's what, like, people that had money went to those games instead of sitting sideline at the Laker game.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's that kind of thing. So it was always very special. Neither one of my grandparents went to Iowa. In fact, I don't think anybody in my family did. I think my uncle might have for a minute, but he flunked out. So nobody actually ever went there. It's just always been kind of about sports.
Sure.
And so just, you know, growing up that way, you know, my grandpa, the pallet company, that's, you know, manual labor, my friends that I tailgate with, that I go I have a few friends that went to school there, but the majority of my friends and when I actually got those plates, Chris might remember this. I put a post up about it and I wrote a big long thing where I was like, yeah, you know, one of the common things is Iowa State fans will be like, well, you didn't fucking go to Iowa. And I'm like, no, I didn't. You're right. But I buy season tickets. My friends buy season tickets. And my one friend delivered oxygen to your dying grandmother. My other one installed the air conditioner at your house. My other one ran all the wiring. My other one painted it. You know, like these people matter. So yeah, we are Walmart fans. Fuck off. Like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it on my plate. Like, what else are you gonna say about me? I don't give a fuck.
I like the ownership of the joke.
Yeah.
And for me personally, it's not a joke that I'll ever like truly make. I don't know that I've ever said anything about it because my husband did not go to Iowa State and is a big Iowa State fan now. And I'm like, the more the merrier, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't know why we would disparage
You're not going to
someone.
accept them. Yeah.
Right. Like, why do we disparage people for liking what they like?
Well, and
Like,
also,
that's
how
kinda
dumb
stupid,
is it?
But
By the way, where it's like, oh, you bought your Hawkeye shirt at Walmart. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to pay triple at the bookstore? Because that's what a fucking idiot does, by the way. And I don't like Walmart either. I'm not a fan. I'm really not.
I think your license plate begs to differ.
I did get my oil changed there shortly after I got the license plate, and they vacuumed my floorboards for free.
That's excellent.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, I want to ask you guys one final question.
Are you sure? You got to go to bed. This could go for another
Poor
hour.
Chris.
One question.
I know it's one question. We end every podcast with this question. So I'll start with Meg.
Okay, I'm ready.
What is the definition of success? And by that definition, who is the most successful person that you would say that you look up to?
Oh my gosh. Just like in general?
Yep.
Like in life?
Sure.
I want Bill to go first. I just made him choke.
I was gonna have Bill go first.
Thank God I got a mute button on my microphone.
I was gonna have Bill go first, but I thought maybe that might take another 20 or 30 minutes, and I thought maybe you might want to go first.
He wants me to close the show.
Let him talk for 20 minutes.
No, go ahead, Meg.
The definition of success
Yeah.
What's your
and someone I
definition?
look up to.
Somebody by that definition that you would look up to.
Because of that because of your definition of success, you look up to this person.
I truly need more time to think about that.
The whole purpose is to put you on the spot, by the way.
I know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it makes me nervous.
What's the first thing that pops in your head?
I am a note taker and a researcher and a preparer, and this makes me very nervous.
Well, then
Says the person that just fucking randomly tweets shit.
No,
That's true.
you should see her drafts folder.
You should see my notebook.
I think you should release. Oh, look, she's already tested out some of her tweets on her family.
She's been workshopping them.
Hey, what do you guys
They
think?
think I'm delightful.
I have a Twitter open mic night in my basement.
They think I'm so funny. Okay, so my definition of success, I think would be, okay, to be analytical of your life and your choices and celebrate the positives and try to improve any areas that need improvement. Does that make sense? Like, truly celebrating the things that make you proud and not being afraid to celebrate those things to the highest degree. So, when you've done something that you feel really proud about, sharing that with the world and celebrating that and not feeling like you have to be quiet and humble. Absolutely. That, that when you have something that you've done really well, that you
You're really
celebrate
proud
that
of. Yeah.
and And then when you have things that you know are things you need to work on, that there's things that you need to improve, that you're constantly working to make yourself a better person, and whatever that may be, in relationships, as a parent, as a spouse, or as a partner, as an employee, as an educator in my situation, whatever it may be. So someone I really look up to
It basically comes down to constant evolution.
Is Matt Campbell, truly. And, you know, you think about the things that he's done, that, you know, he will say constantly, go back to the tape. And yes, celebrate the things that you've done well, absolutely. But look for the things you can do better. And something he said just in his media day, I think it was just like today or yesterday, maybe today, it was super recent. He said something about that really stuck with me, about, like, you know, there are always going to be things you can't control. And football is an imperfect game. And there's always going to be things that you have no control over, but you can control your preparation and you can control your response. And I loved that. Like, you can control how prepared you are, and you can control the way that you respond. And like, that to me is that perfect example of, you know, always improving upon that, because I'm sure we've all had ways that we've responded to something in our lives that we're not proud of, or we've all had ways that we weren't prepared for something that we could have been prepared for. And that's just something I really strive for, especially when I think of like my job, you know, being prepared for anything that comes my way, and being ready to respond to anything, especially, you know, 2020, my God, like, the shit
Aren't
show.
you a first grade teacher?
I'm a first grade teacher.
So you just need a 5-gallon bucket of sawdust to be able to.
I'm a first grade teacher, and we lost a quarter of learning.
Yeah.
And then I had a class of kindergarten students coming to me who lost an entire quarter of kindergarten, and they were mine. And it's my job to meet. It's my job to meet this benchmark, and this benchmark, and that was my responsibility. And so truly thinking, like, I can't control COVID. I can't control this imperfect life that we're all living, but I can control the way I prepare, and I can control the way I respond. And so I think that's, if I can work that into a really wordy tattoo, that might be right.
Well,
I don't know that I'm big enough to fit that anywhere, but I really like that. I really like that idea of, I will control the things that I can. And then when things don't work out, I can control the way I respond to that. I think that's really powerful.
Great answer.
But I really like that. I like the way you laid that out. That was,
thank you,
very thoughtful.
All right. Well, then, Bill, same question to you.
It's really hard to create a definition, because I feel that success is self-defined. I feel like if success to you comes down to what other people think, then it's a recipe for disaster. A really easy way to put that is to look at my career in comedy. Most people will look at me and say, well, I've never heard of you. You must not be successful. And they're equating monetary success to that.
Sure.
They think that if you're not famous, there's no way that you're successful. To me, success is doing what you want and what you love. And if I'm doing nothing but telling jokes, let's say that I only make $800 a month telling jokes. If I can live off of that, I'm a success, because I'm doing what I want every day. To me, my success resides in my peace of mind. It's about my daily disposition. It's not about showing a picture of my car to somebody. It's none of that stuff. ultimately really matters to me. What matters to me is being an example to, you know, my son or people in the neighborhood that I still live in the same neighborhood I grew up in. It's very important to me to be a part of this community and do what it takes to make this a better place to live for everybody. Like that's where success is. Like I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm in the Alumni Hall of Fame at my high school. And I don't think I deserve it at all. And I'm on the committee now every year that elects the next Hall of Famers. And we read these bios and it's doctors and lawyers. Like it's all just monetary success.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like I'm the only one on that wall that isn't, like, I guess, successful in the terms of just what society thinks success is. It's the reason that rappers rent yachts for their videos before they can actually buy a yacht. Like, that's what people think success is. They see that dude I did a reality show in 2004 with William Shatner, and I thought I was done. I was like, as soon as this thing comes out, I'm done. I'm going to be headlining every club. I'm going to make millions of dollars.
That beats my commercial with John Ratzenberger. I tell you what,
I was making fucking direct TV appointments a month after that wrapped. So it was a very humbling experience, and it let me know that no one thing makes or breaks you in any business. It just comes down to doing something every day that you don't hate. And to me, that's what success is. It's I don't care if I live in a cardboard box. If I can buy my groceries telling jokes, I'm a success.
So who do you know in your life that's living like that?
Well, I don't know anybody in a cardboard box, but
who? Yeah,
I don't frequent Tent City, believe it or not. God, it's really hard to pinpoint, but I guess the people that I've looked up to most when it comes to comedy actually aren't comics outside of George Carlin, who's my hero. But like, my influences come from charisma. To me, if you watch Muhammad Ali or Freddie Mercury or Michael Jackson or The Rock.
Chris, Freddie Mercury was a singer in a band named Queen.
Wow.
Meg, I love you. That was a
Man, I knew who he was.
Did you? Good for you.
I did.
But it's like you're watching those guys and you're like, all of these people have more charisma in their pinky finger than I have in my whole body. And that's what I was always drawn to, is just watching someone just command a crowd like that. Like where they could just say nothing. They don't have to say a word. They can just look around and strike a pose and the crowd's going crazy. And that's what I love. And that's what I'm drawn to. And that model throughout my life has either blessed or cursed. My son, my 19-year-old son, is a professional wrestler.
I love it.
Yeah. And so when he came to me and told me that's what he wanted to do, I was fucked. Like, he's been watching me.
If I do what I love to do.
Yeah. He's been watching me tell jokes for a living his entire life. And so the last thing I could do is be like, well, that's stupid. That's so unrealistic. No, you need to go to Wells Fargo and get benefits. Like, I couldn't say any of that shit.
Community.
I couldn't say shit. So all I could do was say, listen, man, it's going to take more hard work and sacrifice than you ever thought. Like, I know what you saw on TV and I know what you thought it was going to be, but it's not going to be that. And somehow he managed to pick the one thing that's harder than what I picked. Because at least for, however many years I would drive 12 hours to make $100.
Mm-hmm.
This dude's going to drive however many hours to make $40 and have bruised ribs and shit.
Yeah.
Like, but he's really good at it. And I'm really proud of him. It's the happiest I've ever seen him. So I don't know. It just
So maybe
success to me is just doing what makes you happy. Maybe he
he's
is.
your answer.
He is your
Yeah.
answer.
Just do what makes you happy. That's what success is. If you're just doing what makes you happy and not letting anyone or anything derail you from that.
Well, on that note, I do think we should be wrapping things up here. Chris, you're gonna have fun editing this one. But,
Good luck, Chris.
Just let it ride, Chris.
Yeah.
Just let it ride.
Do
Fuck
not.
it.
But no, guys, I really want to thank you. Meg, you're as charming in real life as you are on Twitter.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you.
Bill, I hope sometime I get to see you when you're funny. I think that would be great. No, seriously, I appreciate
When you're actually funny.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate I appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with us and going down 17,000 rabbit holes.
It was very fun. It was very authentic. Everything
Very
was a
fun.
blast.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will see what this turns into, but we are very, very grateful. Chris, anything you want to say before I sign us off?
No, we're past my bedtime. We got to go.
All right. Well, once again, you guys have wasted another, I don't know, 2-3 hours.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh no.
Yo, my goodness. You guys have wasted a lot of time with us on Old Man Strength, and we thank you very much for that. Please go ahead and check us out at the Tailgate Society once again at thetailgatesociety.com. You can find us on Twitter at strength_old. Do you guys want to give any Twitter or social media shout outs?
Just Facebook /Bill Blank, Bill Blank 1 on Twitter. Instagram and Snapchat are for chicks and teenagers, so I'm really not active on either one of those.
All right. Well, I guess with that, we will see you guys next time.
No, very much love. And in the immortal words of Michael Jordan, Cyclone fans like jokes too. So I'm perfectly okay hanging out with my Cyclone brethren. Because at the end of the day, honestly, if you're out somewhere else in the country, you see a guy with a Hawkeye hat or you see a guy with a Cyclone hat, we go, hey, what's up? We know we're Iowans in that moment.
Absolutely.
And
I
we'll
always
fight
say,
later.
Go Cyclones.
Yeah, go Hawks. Fuck all you motherfuckers. I'm going to bed.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours, terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin.